Hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I'm going to take a look at crypto. It is the evening of the 19th of November for me, and we are heading into Asian trading on the 20th of November. Today was a bit funky. We've been a little bit sideways at this 90,000 level in Bitcoin, and we had a peak over the top, marginally made a new all-time high in Bitcoin today, and that got sold. And now we have what's called a swing failure pattern, where we were unable on the daily to close at this new level, and we've got a little bit of a pullback. We got very oversold after the election, and for me this was quite a big projection level, and I still feel like this is just price discovery. We had a look over the top and not quite ready. If we go to a lower time frame like a 4-hour or an hourly, remember I talk a lot about how corrections are very often equal measured moves. If we look at this 3 waves lower, this 3 waves higher that we made today was also from the low last Thursday, an equal measured move exactly at 93,938. And when I draw a measured move like that, if we trade back underneath the 61.8 level, which we tested here and was resistance at 91,950, then we're likely in a bigger correction. And I think what's happening here is we've done a big A leg, or 1, 2, 3, and we've got another swing lower. So where is this second swing lower going to be? Well, it could very well be equal to this first one, but very often when you see a pattern like this, so you see a marginal new high here, you see a marginal new low on the other side as well. It kind of traps everybody and gets everybody both ways. So we've got trap longs here, and those trap longs, as soon as they see a new low, will get shaken out, and it's just a pretty nasty ride, which is why I started with the old roller coaster, because it kind of feels like what we're seeing. And with this, I thought if when I was looking at the price action and the movement in Bitcoin today, I thought, if Bitcoin can break out from this sideways here and keep going, then a lot of the others that have been sideways at kind of really big levels, one of them was Solana, the other one I think was Doge, then I thought that we could see really nice breakout moves in those. So I was kind of getting ready, which one am I going to trade? But this, unfortunately is looking a little bit toppy still. And unfortunately, in a lot of smaller altcoins and meme coins, we're seeing really kind of nasty pullbacks tonight as well. So we'll talk about them. So for Bitcoin, now listen, we might bounce around, but I think the path of least resistance is lower. The most bullish would be holding this 89,985, which is the big fib level. But if not, don't be surprised if we don't head actually back to kind of 86, maybe 85 area before we find support again in Bitcoin. When we look at how much Bitcoin has rallied since the election, which has been amazing, we really haven't given any of that back. We made a marginal new all-time high today, whereas stocks, which also rallied really strongly after the election, and stock indexes pretty much retraced all of the move that they had since the election last week. There's a lot of uncertainty about how it's all going to unfold. I think, long term, we have to say it's got to be good for crypto, but there's going to be some bumps in the road, and I just think we kind of maybe got a little bit too far ahead of over our skis this morning. So that's where we are today. Don't be surprised with this move if we see a pullback to 89,900 and maybe 86, 85. If I take a look, ETH is still really underperforming. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with how ETH is holding this support level, but we've got to say we're right in the middle of the range. And when I say right in the middle of the range, when I look at ETH Bitcoin from the low, so this is the beginning of the year for ETH to this high, and we are right at the 50% price of 2024 highs to lows, right in the middle, if you like. And also, if I zoom out and I go and look at the highs that we made in November 2021 to the lows in 2022, here we are right at that 50%, going sideways in the middle of this. It feels like we're really coiling up in ETH. Do I think ETH can still do really good things? Yes, I do. I'm pretty impressed, but it is underperforming. And you know, in this game trading, you kind of always want to be in the fastest horse in the race, if you like. And Solana has been eating Ethereum's lunch. Now, if we draw this as a kind of consolidating year, we could from here see another bigger swing lower. I don't think we will. I think that we are in this pink zone in the middle, and we have really good support in ETH at 2,874. So if we see a bigger pullback here, that's where I think we end up. And this would also be 50% of the big rally following the election in ETH, and a pullback to the weekly 50 moving average. So 2,874 for me is the big support level in ETH US dollar. And if you're like to buy some more, or you're thinking where will this pullback come back to, that for me is the big level that I'm watching. So Solana, did we see a marginal new high in Solana today? I said that this was a big fib projection level for me at 241.71. Does this mean that this is, I think this is the high in Solana and we're never going to come back? Absolutely not. But when I look, you know, when you look at when we look at what we've done in this one, since this 5th of August low, we were at 109, you know, we've more than doubled. We're up 100%. I do think that there is a little bit of a risk that we could come back to these previous swing lows around 210, which would mean, you know, a little bit of a 10% pullback in Solana here. We are looking a little bit toppy and sideways. If we look at the weekly, so far though, it's nothing. You know, we haven't pulled back anything. It's a tiny little sideways doji. It's just, you know, whenever you see a pattern like this, to be honest, we could go either way. I don't think this is a great place to be selling Solana, and I don't think Solana is probably the best sell anyway. This is sideways consolidation, and to be honest, we could just as easily break this sideways consolidation and continue higher. I just think because of how overbought we got on the daily, and when you look at this, this is what I mean by overbought. Look how far away we are from this daily 20 moving average, which we could come all the way back to and still be in a really strong uptrend. So that's what I mean by, I think that there is a little bit of a risk that we could see a little bit of a bigger pullback here, but that would be all it would be. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick chat about some of the ones that I've been trading and how I've been trading them, and then I've got a whole bunch of requests tonight as well. So the first one, let's go back to, this is a little one called Bird, which I've been trading now. If we look at this on the 4-hour, this is a new max chart. You know, there is more history, but I'm looking from the low that we made on Friday, and you know, if I project, I measure this first swing higher and project from this first pullback. This 61.8 level was impressive resistance, which kind of validates it for me, and we reversed at the equal measure move. So this is a 1, 2, 3. So for me, that means that if we close underneath this 61.8 level, we're likely to see a bigger pullback, which is pretty good if you wanted to buy some of this cute guy, because it would be nice and cheap. But if we don't, and this is just a false breakdown, and we hold this support, we're likely to continue higher. So a pretty nicely shake out in a lot of markets tonight, but they are really nice opportunities if there are some that you have got your eye on. One that I have been looking at that got listing, of course, is Mudeng. And I was looking at this earlier because I thought, you know, we were holding these lows from this previous swing high, and we were trading very nicely here. And I was thinking, I wonder if we're going to make just like if this is a fourth wave or something, we could make a triangle or a wedge pattern here, and I'd be looking to buy the lows or for a breakout. But when you don't and you make a new low and you break the low, what you tend to make is a bullish flag if we're going to continue higher. So if we do this here, we're going to be looking for like an equal measured move in Mudeng, and so that says even we've got a little bit further to fall. I'm looking for this 3 waves back, because I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up, and 3 waves back is always a really kind of interesting place to look. So that would be 0.4995 in this one, and around these, you know, previous swing highs, maybe a little bit low. You know, these these are not the sharpest of lines. You know, these markets, especially these memes, like to look the other side of them. So if we can do that here, then I think mood end continues higher. But if we don't, and if we zoom out in this one, I'm going to go back up to a daily chart. You can see that from the lows here, we have made a very bullish, from the lows that we made on the 24th of October, this is a very bullish 5 waves up. So if we don't hold that equal measured move pullback, this is another one that could see a bigger pullback, and I would expect it to be to the bottom of this wave 4 here, and I would expect it to be in big 3 waves, and it may be, you know, 50 or 61.8 of the whole rally. And that, if that's pointing the way, could mean quite a bigger pullback for quite a few more of these alts as well. Another one that I have been watching and I took some profit in is Bonk. Now, I'm going to take this off at the moment. So if we look at Bonk and this consolidation, we had resistance, third touch of this trend line. So from the highs in March and the highs here in May, here we went sideways. We validated this trend line by this reaction the first time we touched it, and then we broke out and we hit the first target. My first target came from a measured move, so from the low in January to the high in March, projected from this low here. So we had this swing higher, then we had 3 waves back, and this is our third swing. So we've paused here. This is not a bearish reversal, it's just a pause. And again, this, like Bitcoin, today we've had a little bit of a swing failure pattern. We faked people that we were perhaps on our way higher, but we couldn't hold the new high, which means we're still going sideways here. I'm still pretty hopeful that this is not just going to be one big, you know, 3-wave move from the low. And so the most bullish thing would be a shallow pullback here, nice 3 waves, and then, or maybe a sideways in a wedge or triangle, and then we continue higher. I'm counting from the low on the 5th of September as a 1, 2, 3. So I'm looking for a waveform. We keep going higher here because I think we've done 5 waves up. I would be more bearish, and we would confirm this as a big ABC in Bonk if we get stuck and we hold underneath this previous swing low, which is here around 3,500, and back underneath this 61.8 fib level. And I think that there is a risk here, if everything has a bigger pullback, that Bonk likely comes back to there. Now, if you really like Bonk, then this would be a pretty nice buying opportunity if you've been waiting for this one. But it kind of points to everything. You know, quite a few of these meme charts that I look at have all kind of reached pretty big target levels. Not all of them, but this is one of them. Now, Happy Solana, this Happy Cat was one that I showed you yesterday when I'm looking for a pullback long entry in one of these. And this is one that, again, made a very nice 3 waves pullback. So I bought it here. I'm going to put regular candles on. And so far, this one is holding up pretty nicely. Got a bullish cross of our hourly moving averages, and we're, you know, on our way higher again. But this is one of those markets where if everything decides to take a bit of a bath, this one could as well. So I'm watching this pretty closely. I think if we... I'm tightening up my stop, and if we lose this hourly 50 moving average, it's potentially, this is just the first swing and a bounce, and we could see another bigger pullback in this one. So my positions at the moment, with potentially a bigger pullback underway, I am watching really closely, and I'll reduce them. Okay, here's With. This was one where I was really hoping we could make a new high last week, and we didn't. We kind of got really close to the high from March in With. And then I was looking, you know, I draw my fibs from this low, but actually really when you have a big pattern like this, maybe from here, and if this 236 fib retrace level from this low to high held, I would say we were still going higher. But in fact, we've started a bigger correction, which means we've got a slightly lower high here and a slightly higher low here, which means With, for me, is really coiling up. And potentially, you know, when you see a pattern like this, we could be, you know, we'll go fib level to fib level to fib level, but we could be going all the way back to the bottom of this range. on profit taking. We validated this 236 fib level. We bounced very nicely from this 38.2. So from here, I think we do head lower to the 50% retrace of this entire swing, where we have also got some pretty good support and resistance in the middle at 2.95. And if we're going to see a bounce, I think we might see it there. And if we don't, you know, again, trade level to level to level, we could keep going lower from here in width as well. Now, a false breakdown. So if the buyers step in and push us back and we hold this 3.3 level, and this was a false breakdown, look underneath it, that would be more bullish. We can look for a bounce. But for now, I think in this one, 3.39 could be resistance and we continue lower in width. If I look at this on an hourly, you can see we've got underneath all of our hourly moving averages, nasty three-wave correction and rolled over lower. And this is the big 3.3 level that we kind of really need to recover. Had good fight here, but haven't managed, and that would say we're going up again. And this 236 fib, you can see how these fib levels are really being paid attention to. So the next one really does come in down here at 2.9. Look for more losses in width. And if you like this one, that 50% retrace is usually a good place to watch for a bullish reversal price action. Okay, got quite a lot of requests, some of them older, some of them new. The first one we're going to look at is ICP. I'm going to zoom out to look at the weekly on this one, because this is one of those charts where we've had a really nasty fall, and the 236 retrace of the entire drop is quite a long way away. So we're looking short term at the levels on this big bounce that we've made that's starting in September. In this one, again, if we looked on a lower time frame, we can see all of these fib retrace levels from this low have been important support and resistance. This 236 fib was the 38.2. This 50% gave us a really nice 50% bounce back, and down we go. And here we are now bouncing from this 786 fib. For me, my favorite trade, if we can bounce from a 786 fib and close and hold above the 61.8, which is here at 9.75, we should see a swing pattern to this 50% at 11.8 and then to 14 in ICP. If we don't and we just go sideways, I'm afraid it's not the bullish reversal that I was hoping for. So we are still just unfortunately trading sideways between 8.7 and 9.7 in this one, trying to make a base and potentially not a bullish reversal until we can close and hold and find support from that 9.75 level. If we look at it on a lower time frame here, on the hourly, yeah, we had a peak above it, but we really need to hold above it if we're going to be going higher. Like, we're just flat sideways. I don't see a decent recovery yet in this one. Next one is YFI. Now, let's start with the monthly on this one, because this one does look like we are trying to make a base around the kind of 2000 lows in this one. Now, this is the high in the bounces that we've made basically in the last 2 years. The highest one we made was in November a year ago, November 2023. And we have what looks like a three-wave move here. So, and then a very bullish move post-election on the weekly. So the key question is, if we are going to be going higher, we need to get above that 236 fib retrace from the high in November 2023 to the low that we just made here, and that's where we got rejected so far. Now, if we just do a shallow pullback, 3 waves, find some support from these moving averages and challenge it again and close above it, we're going to see a much nicer, bigger bounce here. We're going to look for 8.8 and that big 50% level in the middle at 10.16. But for now, this doesn't feel like this correction is quite over. When I look at it from the lows, how far have we pulled back? It's like we're sideways around the 650. Yeah. this has just lost all its kind of mojo, hasn't it? There's much, it's had a big move and everybody's going, okay, which way next? What are we going to do? You know, whenever you get sideways consolidation like this, and we've got a double bottom and a little double top here since last Wednesday, this is what we've done in the last week. I think the breakout from this sideways range will tell us which way next. If we break higher from here, we're going to look to hold above that 236 fib at 7.1. But if we don't, I think we're likely to see another leg lower. And this pullback not quite over. I would really like to see this daily 200 moving average hold as support on another leg lower, but it's not clear yet. I don't really see any kind of trend. I don't really have anything. I don't see a trade, compelling trade in YFI at the moment. Okay, next request is CRV, which has seen some really decent moves. Let's start with the monthly on this one. Whenever you fall down and make a new low like this, you know, previous lows can be quite tough resistance. And what I'm impressed about with this one is how we've gotten above all these previous lows that potentially could have been pretty nasty resistance in this previous double bottom. So we've had a look above it today. This is kind of going to be key, and I don't want this to be, this is a weekly, I don't really want this to be a false break, because we've got pretty tough resistance here from this previous triple bottom and the weekly 50 moving average. So when I look at this on the daily, yikes, this is one of those, like, it looked like a breakout and we haven't quite done it. And this is one of those places where we may see some back and fill, false breakouts. Either direction can be kind of quite strong reversals. You know, if I measure from the low how this rally has unfolded, what I would really not want to see is this to be an equal measured move here as well. And unfortunately, it exactly is. 0.406. So we really need to hold above this 0.406 to keep going. And the first time we may have a little bit of a fail. Now here we are on the hourly, and when I look at it, it looks pretty good. Here we are above it, but falling back underneath this level and it becoming resistance would say, watch out, we could see much bigger pullback maybe to these previous swing lows and so on. And because it was an equal measured move from the low in August, this is kind of really important that we don't get back underneath 0.3344 if you want to stay bullish in this one. So just like Bitcoin, a little bit of a fake out move that could lead to a bit of a bigger pullback. Not underneath 0.3344 in CRV would say, unfortunately, this is just a big correction and we could see a bigger pullback or more losses underneath that if we get back underneath it. Okay, next one we're going to look at is render, one I haven't looked at for a while. It wasn't clear in the request whether you wanted the render old token or the render ERC, so I'm going to look at the ERC token. Now, for me, big picture, when I look at this, I kind of really like this chart. It does kind of look quite impulsive. It looks like we've made 3 waves back to this previous swing low of the last swing higher. Also, a really interesting support level if we go from when this launched on Coinbase. So there's loads to like about this, isn't there? And there is loads to even more to like about this. If we can hold above these daily, weekly moving averages, and this is not just going to be a 3-wave correction. If I put fibs on from this high to low, we knew we were going higher when we blasted beyond this 236 fib. But again, one of those kind of danger zones is going to be if we've just done a kind of 3-wave correction here, because you can see this looks like 3 waves up, 3 waves back, and this is the 5th wave. So at the moment we are above on the weekly, that equal measured move level. Here on the daily, we have had a look above it today. If we can hold above it, looks like we'll keep going, and then upside targets 8.52 and then 9.72. Just beware a false breakout here. We could see a bigger pullback. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. Back to the bottom of wave 4 is where we're likely to come back to, which is also where the daily 20 moving average is if this is a false breakout we could see something like this, perhaps in 3 waves. That would be before we continue higher again. But if we can hold above 7.585 short term, we're still going up. 8.52 next, 9.72 next. I'd really like to see some much stronger bullish moves if that's going to keep going in render. This is the RNDR ERC token. Okay, request for Doge Gov token. Here we go. Let's go to the weekly of this. You can see this had an amazing rally post-election, which was here. There's a weekly chart, and here we are with a bit of a pullback. Normally, if this big wave 1 is complete, and it does look like a lovely big 5-wave move, you would normally expect it to come back to either 50% or 61.8. We can see that this first swing came back to the 50% and gave us a really nice 50% bounce higher. That's very normal for that kind of mean reverting thing, but then unfortunately we've continued lower. So the pattern that we're looking for is kind of 3 waves back, and it might come, because we're here at the daily, we could come all the way back, unfortunately lower. That's very often once the 5 waves are complete. That quite often is the pattern. Let me put the fibs back on from the lows. For me, it's quite important, when you can count 5 waves up and you start losing that 236 fib, it kind of does point to a bigger pullback, usually at least 50%. So quite a warning to get out of the way. Now, we're underneath that 61.8. They can be messy. If we continue lower, 0.1188 is likely where the next support is. But it could be that we're measuring these fibs long, and other markets have different values. And so I would say these previous swing lows from the election around 0.14 are more likely. And if I measure 0.126, so between 0.126 and 0.14, I think is likely to be where we continue lower to, unless we bounce from this swing high here and the daily 20 and we get back above this 61.8 level. So this is kind of our bull line. We're going to be bullish back above it at 0.245. Holding underneath 0.245, unfortunately, points to lower, 0.12, 0.14 area. So potentially a bounce here if you're looking for one. But it's not a bullish reversal unless we can hold above 0.245 next in Doge Gov. Okay, Giga Chad. Now, let's start with the weekly of this one, because this is quite interesting. It's overshot. This is a very nice look. 5 waves up and big pullback to the 50%. If this is not the low, and this is just a bounce, and we bounce from this 50% level, we would normally expect to see a 50% bounce going the other way. So if I go from this high to low here, our target, worst case scenario, would be this 50% here, 0.0569. At the moment, we haven't kind of bounced enough to confirm even a reversal. And shorter term, really, we need to get above this 236 fib and these previous lows that didn't hold us as support here. These lows here. 0.0456. So above that, I think we see a bigger bounce to this 50%. A really bullish look here would be, up here, 50% back, and we keep going again. If we stay underneath 0.0456, unfortunately, this is not quite done. And this is not the bullish reversal we are looking for, and we will go back, because sometimes, you don't hold that 50%, we'll continue lower to maybe 0.034, because this is 5 waves up and a big wave 1 finished here. We could come back quite a long way and make no damage to the trend, bigger trend here in this one. A lot of them are having pretty nasty pullbacks, but if we can hold this, then that's what I'm looking for more upside in Giga Chad. So it's a maybe. Peanut is also having a pretty nasty pullback from the highs. Again, this is a very nice, this is the Binance chart from when it launched on Binance. Very nice 5 waves up. You would normally expect a 3-wave correction back to this previous swing low. And amazingly, that's how Peanut is looking. It's just trying to bottom here. It hasn't quite done it yet. If we look on this Binance chart at the Fib retrace levels, we are holding very nicely this 38.2. There is a possibility, if everything has a bit of a bath, that this sees another bigger pullback and we come back a little bit lower to 1.3. So if you're looking at Peanut in this one, and that would also be where we kind of, yeah, either way I measure this, you know, I wouldn't, if everything takes a little bit of a bath in Peanut, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up a little bit lower at 1.3. But for now, this is holding on pretty nicely. It's just a matter of waiting for it to turn higher again, which is not quite yet, unfortunately. Yeah, coiling up here in the middle in a choppy sideways range. Not quite the bullish signal yet. I'm watching this one. The next one we're going to look at, smoking chicken fish. This is one that I've had a lot of fun trading, unfortunately. So I'm ignoring this one, right? I'm ignoring this big spike high when this is first launched. And when we look at the swing high that we made in August, this unfortunately is where we couldn't get above. We had a little bit of a swing failure pattern here. So unfortunately, this kind of is all starting to look like a bit of a sideways range. Now, if we measure from this low to high, I got quite excited here, thinking that perhaps we could hold the support and reverse here. But whenever you're looking for a reversal, what you don't want to see is an equal measured move, because that says that this was just corrective and we're still in our downtrend. And this bounce we had from the 3rd of November to the 14th here is exactly that, unfortunately. This was an equal measured move. And for me, the sell signal was when we couldn't hold above this 61.8 level. And this was important for me because I'd been looking at this as an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Let's take that away. I looked at this and went, wow, this is a pretty nice inverted head and shoulders pattern. Here's the neckline. We break the neckline and we're on our way higher. So I bought this higher low here, but when we failed at this 61.8 and when we got back underneath this 61.8, this means that this whole rally was not an inverted head and shoulders pattern. It was a corrective equal measured move, and we are still headed lower and back to the bottom of the range, unfortunately, in smoking chicken fish. I think it's kind of cool, this one's, but you know, the chart has to be right for me to buy it again. So I'm sitting on my hands and waiting. Now, a really nice, there's lots of bottoming patterns. A nice double bottom and a big reversal here would be impressive. But yeah, I'm just going to wait for now for a better entry or a sign that it's found some buyers and some support here, unfortunately. Okay, I hope that's useful. I am going to do a separate video for MicroStrategy. Let me know if there's anything you'd like.